Now, at skin, first, underneath the skin, there is hypodermal fat, which contains cholesterol, where if sunlight falls, then it is converted to 7-dehydrocholesterol. Then it goes to liver, where it is hydroxylated at 25th position by 25 alpha hydroxylase, and then it is transferred to kidney, where it is converted to 125 DHCC or vitamin D3 or calcitriol. Fine. Had it been plant sources, the initial compound would have been argosterol. Okay. So 7-dehydrocholesterol, instead of 7-dehydrocholesterol, it will be 7-dehydroargosterol, argocholecalciferol. 7-dehydroargosterol or argocholecalciferol. And it will go take a different path. Now, otherwise, from dietary sources, if you see, mostly the butter, oily foods, they carry all fat soluble vitamins. Vitamin D is not an exception. So, any oily food can contain vitamin D in itself. Now, this synthesis or biosynthesis of vitamin D from sunlight depends on many factors. Okay. Among the other sources, see this one, food fortification. You might have seen in the market there are several edible oils available. Say Imami, something like then Saffola with vitamin A and D and E and K. So all these oils actually they are naturally rich in, they should be naturally rich in vitamin D. You need not to put more vitamin D in it. Then why they use the word fortification? Is it misleading to some extent? To some extent yes, to some extent no. Why they need fortification? Because most of the oils we use are today, in today's date, are artificially prepared. The oil which we consume, say mustard oil, such and such brand, Saffola, such and such brand. Saffola is a oil from oil seed of safflower, sunflower oil, whatever it is. Actually, they are produced artificially. Naturally produced things are gone from market. Since they are produced from artificial sources, by artificial processes, by transesterification, they call it. So they had to add these food ingredients. Had it been from natural sources, you need not to use this word. Okay? Got it? Now, whatever I told that this one, the 7-dehydrocholesterol part is there, animals and exposed to sunlight. Fine? Now, the factors which affect the synthesis of vitamin D from sunlight exposure. Remember these factors. Very often they ask species, skin, nature of skin, thickness, pigment, time of the day or the season, latitude, age of the individual, and use of sunscreens. So each point we will discuss separately, starting with species. What do you mean by species? Are we not all same Homo sapiens? Sapiens? Yes, we are all Homo sapiens sapiens. But are we all of similar species? Definitely not. Roger Federer and myself, they are not. We are not same species. Correct? Jackie Chan and Will Smith are not from the same species. Correct? So, these ethnicity variance has been depicted by this word species. Alright? So, those people who live particularly in areas near equator, they are more exposed to sunlight. The people who live at a higher altitude, higher latitude, they exposed to less sunlight. People who live in higher altitude near equator, and people who live at higher altitude near poles, they also differ in their region, the exposure, the amount of exposure of sunlight. Now here, it has been seen that the areas where people are more exposed to sunlight, they are usually dark colored skin, brown or black, and if you go farther towards North Pole or South Pole, you will see the skin darkening will decrease. Correct? Like that. Again, if you go to Eskimo, the polar part and Arctic regions, Antarctic regions, there you will find Eskimos. What is the skin color of Eskimo? Just like a person from Bakura. Similar. Okay? That is, if the reason is their food habits. They never suffer from vitamin D deficiency. Nor vitamin D deficiency, nor vitamin A deficiency, nor E or K. No fat soluble vitamins are deficient in among any Eskimos unless they are brought into our society. If we bring them to our society, they will suffer from all sorts of deficiencies. In their region, they never have any vitamin D deficiency. Why? Because of their food habits. Fine. Now, skin, nature of the skin, the thickness of the skin. What do you think? The thicker skin will prevent vitamin D synthesis or will promote vitamin D synthesis? And give some example of thicker skin and thin skin. What do you think? A thin skin will promote vitamin D synthesis or a thick skin will promote vitamin D synthesis? Huh? Thin skin will promote vitamin D synthesis. Why? More penetration of sunlight. Correct? Huh? Then what is wrong with thick skin? The thicker skin will contain more amount of pigment. Correct? But there is a issue which I will discuss again. See, the pigmentation. Higher the pigmentation, lower the production of vitamin D. Lower the pigmentation, higher the production of vitamin D. Say for example, a person from Germany and a person from West Indies, Barbados. What do they differ in? Their skin color. Huh? So the German fellow is white and the Barbados fellow is black. Correct? Now here the black people, they are exposed to more sunlight, so they need more protection from sunlight. So they have got higher amount of pigmentation. Now higher amount of pigmentation means less amount of penetration of sunlight to the skin. And to synthesize vitamin D, the sunlight must reach underneath the skin, hypodermal fat layer. And that is impossible if the skin color is very dark. So the person will have less amount of vitamin D synthesis if the skin color is dark or highly pigmented. Whereas a person in Germany who is white in color, they have little pigmentation in their or no pigmentation at all in the skin. Why? Because they receive very less amount of sunlight due to higher latitude. Okay. So they receive less amount of sunlight, so they need more penetration. So they have no pigmentation at all. Age. With growing age, our skin becomes thick or thin. With growing age, our skin becomes thick or thin? Thin. Why? Depletion of hypodermal fat layer. Depletion of hypodermal layer of fat. Now, so if the hypodermal fat is less, then cholesterol will be less, production will be less. Although the penetration is high, but the raw materials are less, so production will be less. Like in case of a very aged person, 89-year-olds, 92-year-old, their skin is wrinkled, correct? Why? Because of the depletion of hypodermal layer of fat. Now, use of sunscreens. Sunscreens are ointments, correct? We apply in order to protect our skin from sunburn or heavy sunlight. What do you need here? If you have purchased ever a sunscreen lotion or ointment or cream from market, you might have seen there's something called SPF written in that. So, how much SPF you have purchased? Anyone, or you have seen? You remember? Huh? Kari bolo. Stand up. SPF 30. 30 you have seen. Oh my God. Anything else? Anyone else? Mostly, this 25, 30, 35, all these SPF factor, this sun protective factor. Now, these, if the factor is high, amount is high, that means it will give more protection from the sunlight. Now, how to justify this? It happens so that in China, Japan mostly, China first to respond. The people are more worried about taking care of their skin, mostly the ladies, young ladies. So they started applying sunscreens at their will. Higher the SPF factor, higher the protection. They started buying 15, 20, 25, then 30, 35, 40. These cricketers, they use 40 SPF factors. Fine. Cricketers, they use 40 SPF factor. Now, what went wrong? For continued use of 10 to 15 years, they found that a big population of young women, they are suffering from vitamin D deficiency. They are working in a well sunlit area outside, not inside, but still they are having good food, but still they are having vitamin D deficiency. And the symptoms are far more dangerous. What is that? Fracture prone bones. They started having fracture on simple falls. Like this, if you are standing, if the hand moves, she will have a fracture here. Usually it should not happen, but they started having this. Then they retrospected. They found that use of sunscreens with higher SPF factor has caused zero penetration of sunlight in their skin. Fine? Then they reduced. Now if you see in India, hardly you will find any SPF 10. All good quality brands are having SPF 5 factors. And particularly for Indian population, we don't need any sunscreen to utilize. Why? We are protected by pigments, skin pigments, melanin, which the Asians, other Asians like Chinese, Japanese, this population, they lack. Correct? So actually we don't need any protection from sunlight except an umbrella to protect from heat. That's all. We don't need anything else because we have pigmentation. But still, you might have found that 8 out of 10 adults from our family, they suffer from vitamin D deficiency. Is it not? Your mom, your dad, your uncle, aunts, they all suffer from, sometimes your elder sister or brother. No? They suffer from vitamin D deficiency. You go for measuring, they find vitamin D is less and they start giving them a very high dose of vitamin D initially to replenish the vitamin D in their body. Now, what could be the reason for this? Our population means we are not hand to mouth condition. We eat a good food. Definitely we eat good food, good quality food. Correct? So it must carry all the nutrients. Even we can buy the tablets also. We are much wealthier than those footpath dwellers. But still, we have this issue of vitamin D deficiency. What is the reason? What is the reason? What could be the reason? ভাবো তুমি ভাবো ভাবো তুমি বলো দাঁড়াও বলো কি মনে হয় তোমার আমার ফ্যামিলি বাংলা বোঝো তোমার আমার ফ্যামিলি খুব একটা গরিব নই আমরা খেতে পাই ভালো মন্দ খেতে পাই তাহলে আমাদের পরিবারে অ্যাডাল্টদের মধ্যে কেন ভিটামিন ডি ডেফিসিয়েন্সি হয় আমরা খাই না ভিটামিন ডি খাবারগুলো সেগুলো আমরা বেশি করে খাই চকলেট ক্যাডবেরিজ তাই না মাছ মাংস বিরিয়ানি তেলে ভাজা lack of exposure to sunlight. We wake up late, or suppose you wake up early, then also you will suffer from vitamin D deficiency. At what time of day you will receive the highest amount of vitamin D synthesis from sunlight? Morning around 8 to 10, evening around 4 to 5. This much region, time, that's all. Highest. What about at 12 o'clock? No. Nothing. Not much. Correct? So early morning, if you are going for morning walk, say around 5:30. How much sunlight you will receive? Yeah? Now evening, you are going out after 5:30, after sunset. You are receiving between 8 to 10. You are traveling to your working place in a car which is air conditioned. You are receiving and hardly you come out of your office before 5 o'clock. So you are receiving sunlight. Now when you practice this lifestyle for years together, you receive vitamin D. Correct? Anything else? Sometimes, see, the vitamin D requires a good functioning kidneys. If our kidneys are not functioning well, then also we might suffer from vitamin D deficiency. That also we should keep in mind. Sometimes the people who are having sedentary lifestyle, they suffer from chronic renal failures. And we do not understand until it is very much aggravated. Right? Till the advanced stage. Sit down. So time of the day, season, latitude, age, use of sunscreen. Absorption process required fat, similar to vitamin A. So we need bile salts, mainly duodenum and jejunum and ileum. Efficiency about 50%. That should be sufficient for our sustenance. Now, cholecalciferol diffuses from skin. The process has been described here. Now, the sunlight, when it falls to cholecalciferol, the cholecalciferol, what the vitamin D synthesis process, they also produce these products as byproduct. Okay. So what happened to them? What happened to them? What is this meaning? Yes, anyone? Pronounce it. Stand up. Read this. Read. Just read. This line. বলো পড়তে বলেছি আপনার বাংলা বোঝে হ্যাঁ আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড বেঙ্গলি ও বলো other metabolites sloughed off during turnover of skin. That means the sunlight produces these side products from cholesterol. They remain here. They are not utilized. And when for normal process our skins are turned over, then it is falling off skin, it goes off from our body. Fine na? Transport, it is transported by vitamin D binding protein, albumin-like protein. In liver, it is converted 25 DHCC by 25 alpha hydroxylase, and in kidney, it is converted to 125 DHCC or calcitriol by 1 alpha hydroxylase. Now, this diagram is very, very important. You all must remember this, memorize this. Very, very important for examination point of view. See, our serum calcium level is maintained in a very narrow range between 9 to 11 milligram per deciliter. Now, below 7, it is detrimental, fatal. Above 13 or 14, if it goes, then it is also fatal. Okay, in both the cases, we suffer from cardiac arrest. Fine. So, the calcium has to be kept in a very narrow range between 9 to 11 milligram per deciliter. I am talking about the total calcium. I am not talking about the ionized calcium. Fine. Ionized calcium is something different. Their range is also different. Now, there are 3 hormones. This one increased by three hormones. Why do we call vitamin D as hormone? If you have attended my last class on vitamin A, you should have answered this. So vitamin D is a vitamin which acts as hormone. Right? Same like vitamin A. So parathyroid hormone, parathormone and vitamin D, they both increase the serum calcium level. But they increase in 2 different ways. They increase in 2 different ways. Vitamin D helps in increasing serum calcium level by increasing absorption of calcium from small intestine. Correct? Parathormone increases serum calcium level by letting phosphate out of body and restoring calcium in the body. Now, why do you find calcium and phosphate in our body? Why Where do you find calcium and phosphate in our body? Bones, teeth, correct? So bones. What is bone if I ask you? Yeah, what is the composition of bone if I ask you? Composition. Yeah, we are going to composition. Hydroxyapatite of Ca3PO4 whole twice, calcium, phosphate. Hydroxyapatite of calcium, phosphate. So we require calcium and phosphate both for synthesis of bone. What is the ratio? What you can say? Ca3PO4 whole twice. So with what ratio calcium and phosphate should be present for optimum bone synthesis? Anyone? What? No idea. No idea. It's better you didn't try. This 1:1. It is not 3:4. This 1:1. Sit down. So in our diet, the calcium has to be in 1:1 ratio, or it might go as far as 1:3, not beyond that, for optimum absorption and utilization of calcium and phosphate for synthesis of bone. Now there is an enzyme called alkaline phosphatase, which plays an important role for bone synthesis. It increases the calcium and phosphate concentration, high concentration of phosphate and calcium concentration near the bone producing cells, means osteoblasts, correct? So vitamin D actually promotes osteoblastic activity. Now how many types of cells are there in bones? Osteoblast, osteocyte and osteoclast. What is what? What is the function of each type of cell? The osteoblast is just like you. You are still growing, right? Or your brothers, teenagers, who are still growing. They are osteoblasts, correct? Osteoclast, just like your parents, they have stopped growing, correct? Now they are senile, old, they are not growing. So they are called osteoclast. Now to synthesize bone, we need osteoblastic activity. Fine? So more osteoblast means what? The bone is in a dynamic state. And what do you mean by dynamic state? The calcium can come inside as well as go out. Fine? So vitamin D promotes this dynamic state by increasing serum calcium. Right? Parathermal increases the same dynamic state for increasing serum calcium, but in opposite direction. Vitamin D increases osteoblastic activity so that they can receive more calcium and it can produce a calcium gradient from gut to the bone. Parathermal creates the same gradient but in opposite direction. The bone is having more calcium and serum is having less. So calcium will flow from bones to serum. Vitamin D will from gut to serum. Gut to serum. First it comes to serum. Then you can go to liver, you can go to other tissues, right? So if you do not maintain maintain the serum calcium level, then you will have serious consequences. The person will die. The bone will form later. First, the heart must be on. Heart will be pumping. Only the bone will start synthesizing. First thing is, vitamin D will increase the movement of calcium from gut to serum. Whereas the PTH will move the calcium from bones to serum. And why and how? The PTH will allow the phosphate to clear off, to excrete more and more phosphate. Hyperparathyroidism is associated with hypophosphatemia. Hypoparathyroidism is associated with hyperphosphatemia, just opposite. Hyperparathyroidism is associated with hypercalcemia. Hypoparathyroidism is associated with hypocalcemia. Vitamin D, if vitamin D is less, then our body cannot absorb calcium from the diet. Then it starts utilizing calcium already present in our body. That means they take out calcium from the bone. If the process continues, then what will happen? After some time, our bones will be fragile, fracture prone. Correct? Now, on the other side, CT or calcitonin, it is secreted from thyroid gland. Right? What does it do? It reduces serum calcium level. How? By allowing calcium to be excreted through urine. Correct? Fine. So if you have thyrotoxicosis, means hyperactivity of certain thyroid cells, you can have hypocalcemia due to excessive secretion of calcitonin. Correct? So it may not be vitamin D deficiency. The parathyroid hormone is so important for our normal life that during the surgical removal of thyroid gland, utmost care is taken to retain the parathyroid gland and its blood supply. The rest of the thyroid gland is removed except 4 corners containing parathyroid glands and their blood supply. Okay? Finally, they do the surgery. Now, this diagram, is the whole scenario together. See, in the blood, a low blood calcium triggers a signal which is sensed by parathyroid gland. PTH is secreted. PTH acts on 2 places. One, in bone, they release calcium from bone to increase the blood calcium level. At the same time, PTH stimulate 1-alpha hydroxylase. That means for synthesis of vitamin D, we need to have 2 things very good functioning, very well functioning. What are those glands? One is kidney, another is parathyroid. Without PTH, 1-alpha hydroxylase will not be synthesized. Without 1-alpha hydroxylase, vitamin D3 will not be synthesized. And without vitamin D, there will be no serum calcium level. Calcium will not be absorbed from the diet. How much calcium you pour in the diet doesn't matter. It will be. Now, this one, PTH, so they increase calcium absorption from intestine and together they increase the serum calcium level. So, correct? This is a good diagram. Next diagram, if we see this one shows why we call vitamin D as a hormone. Because vitamin D being a fat-soluble vitamin, it can directly cross the cell membrane, enter the cell membrane, inside the cell membrane, they might attach with their specific receptor called VDR or vitamin D receptor. After the attachment, they might go to specific region of DNA where it will bind and it will stimulate, it will promote transcription of certain proteins, certain RNAs, which will give rise to certain protein production. Say for this particular example, it is calbindin. The calbindin or CBP, calcium binding protein, the protein produced in the mucosal cell of small intestine, which is responsible for absorption of calcium. So as long as CBP is present, it will continue absorption of calcium from the gut, that means from the diet, and it will maintain a gradient for further absorption of calcium from the gut. Once it is used by the cell, then this gradient is maintained. The calbindin is less in the cell, calcium absorption will stop. So because of this function, vitamin D is also called as a hormone. Okay, functions of calcium and phosphate. See, go through it. Ask me if you have any question. Any question? Metabolic functions of vitamin D. Intestinal phosphate absorption. Renal resorption of phosphate and calcium. Just make a note of these points. These are important. When you go for practicing in medicine, these points will be required. Calcitriol and bones, see, osteoclast mediated bone resorption, demineralization. Correct? If you remember the function of these three hormones, you can remember the whole of the vitamin D and calcium metabolism. Anyway, fine. So vitamin D, calcitriol, this is another synthesis process, parathyroid hormone. We'll go to functions of vitamin D. These are non-classic functions. Actually, these are the more important functions than classical functions. Nowadays, we have seen many physicians prescribing vitamin D because of these functions. Go through it. Any question you ask me? So many times it might be asked, what are the non-classical functions of vitamin D? It is not about calcium metabolism only. আমরা কিন্তু সবসময় যেটা প্রেসক্রিপশন করি যখন এই ফাংশনগুলোর জন্য করি if you could recall during corona period they say they prescribe to us to have vitamin D for this reason. Vitamin D receptor. See, there you didn't ask, now you're asking. Why? Tough job. Tough job. These are not a conference seminar. There you sit like this, no one will bother. Here you are on the receiving end. You must learn something from this class. Okay, done? Vitamin D deficiency, from childhood onwards you have been studying vitamin D deficiency causes osteomalacia among adults and in Children, what is that? Rickets. Louder, louder. Rickets. What is osteomalacia? What is osteoporosis? Are they same? Are they different? If so, how? These are the questions you will face in the examination. No one will ask you to write down the osteomalacia, what are the symptoms of osteomalacia. No. What is this? The common feature of the load-bearing bones in a rachitic child. A child suffering from ricket. Rachitic child. What happens? The load-bearing bones have been bent. It could bend inwardly or outwardly. If they bend inwardly, we call it knock knee syndrome. Knock knee. And if they bend outwardly, we call whole head. Anything else we can see? What is this? The radiological examination of bones show, see, lighter regions. That means these bones are less dense. Calcium deposition is less. This is a X-ray of a small child. No. So mostly we get vitamin D deficiency among the pediatric population. So those of you who will go for pediatrician course, they will receive this thing. In the final year, the pediatric subject, you will receive this and this X-ray. You have to report the diagnosis. The same X-ray. Palmar X-ray and femur X-ray. That's all. Right? Any question? Vitamin D toxicity, we'll discuss later. Any question from here?
Why this system is important? Anyone? Yes? Hormones. Okay, then any other words for this system? Ki mind aste pare. Hormones means secreted from any glands by endocrine cells. That's also coming. So why need? There is a renal system, there is a central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Why endocrine system is important? Yes? Yes? Chemical coordination of what? Yes? Better to tell that the internal, to control the internal homeostasis. এই টার্মগুলো এবার তোদের সময় চলে এসছে, এগুলো নিজের মধ্যে নিয়ে আসা। ইউ আর গোয়িং টু বি এ ডক্টর, নট এ গ্র্যাজুয়েট। প্লেন বিএসসি এমএসসি করতে যাচ্ছিস না তোরা। ইউ আর গোয়িং টু বি এ ডক্টর, সো থিঙ্ক ওয়াইজ লাইক ওয়াইজ। ইউ উইল বি ফিউচার ডক্টর, ইউ উইল ট্রিট ইউর পেশেন্টস। নিজেকে তৈরি কর, প্রিপেয়ার yourself. So endocrine system is important to coordinate, to balance our internal homeostasis. What does mean by homeostasis? জানিস নিশ্চয়ই? Homeostasis means many things are balanced, right? Homeostasis, not hemostasis. Hemostasis is different. Homeostasis means there some internal functions are there, all are balanced. Like our fluid balance, like our metabolic rates, metabolisms, like our attitude, attitude, bolar bhungi, expression, these are all related with CNS and also endocrine system. Sexual character, mentality, psychiatric problems, mental problems, all are controlled by both CNS and endocrine systems. So endocrine system is basically important for both in neural system and also endocrine system. What are the difference between the neural system and endocrine system? Anyone? Unit neural system is? No, not so much stimulate. Basically, stimulation হয় না. Difference কি? Neural system is short term. Very good. Number one, then quick, fast. কেউ একটা বলছিল. So this system it worked as a short term but quick response. So some work need short term and quick response. চুলটা এরকম করলাম, কি করলাম, প্ল্যান করলাম যে আমি হাতটা তুলবো, মাসেল দিয়ে তুলছি, তুলে উপরে নিয়ে যাচ্ছি, কোঅর্ডিনেট করছি, আমি চুলেতেই হাত দেব, নাকে হাত দিচ্ছি. দিস আর দ্য শর্ট and quick response to CNS. Now what do you mean by endocrine system? That is slow. একটা newborn, infant, toddlers, childhood, adolescent, then secondary sexual characters are coming. Hormones, endocrine system. That is long term but slow. Right? So neural system is a very short term and is quick response. Endocrine system is long term and slow to regulate our different systems different way, like in metabolism, like our growth, like our secondary sexual characters, and also to maintain our stress, anxiety, fright. একটা সাপ ঢুকে গেছে মনে করো, ছুটতে হবে, এই যে ছোটার যেটা both system are acting, neural system also acting and endocrine system also will act, because this is the stress. What happens in stress? Stress stimulates our neural controls and then goes to the hypothalamus, and this, from hypothalamus it stimulates pituitary gland, and then it goes to the adrenal cortex to release the cortisol, and from the medulla, that is epinephrine, norepinephrine, or you can say that is adrenaline, noradrenaline is helpful to fight or পালাতে help করবে. So these two systems mainly coordinates or connected with each other to some extent. That's why this system is very important and very interesting system. Endocrine system থেকে তোদের এক্সামে দেবে, সেকেন্ড সেমিস্টারে তো আসবেই. endocrine system থেকে মোটামুটি শর্ট নোট আসে, লং কোশ্চেনও আসে, and in overall clinical scenario is also very important, right? So is this endocrine system, already one student told that this is to some extent the terms will come as the hormones, কেউ বলতে পারি some glands, কেউ বলতে পারে যে টার্গেট সেলস. each and every important in endocrine system. এইগুলো যেমন ছাড়া লিখলাম, ইন্টাররিলেশনস ছাড়া endocrine system ultimate function বা রেসপন্স দেবে না. So endocrine system means they are coordinated. How? What are the types of glands? কি টাইপস এর গ্ল্যান্ডস আছে বল? exocrine, endocrine, then autocrine, mixed bolte. Whenever you are telling, you please, এই যে মিক্সড, যখনই কোনো টার্ম মুখ থেকে বেরোবে, যদি ওটা ফুললি না জানিস বলিস না. এই যখনই টার্মস তুই কি মিক্সড গ্ল্যান্ড যখনই বলবি, তোকে এক্সামিনার যে কোথায় নিয়ে গিয়ে ফেলবে তুই নিজেও জানিস না, যদি তুই না জানিস. সো এনি টার্ম, এটাই হচ্ছে ভাইবা হয়, এইভাবেই কিন্তু ভাইবাগুলো হবে তোদের এবার আস্তে আস্তে করে বুঝতে পারবি. এনি টার্ম, ডোন্ট আটার দ্যাট টার্ম, ইউ হ্যাভ নো আইডিয়া অ্যাবাউট দ্যাট টার্ম. মিক্সড গ্ল্যান্ড, আমি তোকে জিজ্ঞেস করলাম তুই আর বলতে পারছিস না, তার মানে এক্সামিনার উইল স্টিক টু দ্য মিক্সড গ্ল্যান্ড. Okay, so these glands মানে autocrine, paracrine, simple ভাবে ভাবনা, তাই না? Sorry. So these things are very much important. The type of glands. Now glands থেকে হবেটা কি? Glands will release some chemical messengers which release that may act on that cell or that gland, that is autocrine, that acts in neighboring cells, that is paracrine, and also it can distance wise, this is the endocrine gland. That means these glands are releases some chemical messenger to give a response by acting on the target cells. So first of all, I am little bit giving some ideas about hormones. What are the types of hormones? What are the types of hormones? Very good. So number one is a peptides hormones. Number two, steroid hormone. Number three, হ্যাঁ জোরে বল না। ক্যাটেকোলাইনস তো একটা টাইপস হলো না, ক্যাটেকোলাইনস এর মধ্যে হবে দ্যাট ইজ কল্ড অ্যামাইনো ডেরিভেটিভ। এই চকগুলো ভেঙে যায় কেন রে? ডেরিভেটিভস মানে কি, সিঙ্গল টাইরোসিন দিয়ে different hormones will come. Tyrosin is the amino acid. তাহলে কি কি আছে সেগুলো মোটামুটি আইডিয়া, থাইরক্সিন বা T3 T4 নাম্বার 1। থাইরোসিনটা কোনটা, T3 না T4? T4 হচ্ছে ট্রাইআইডোথাইরোডিন আর T4 কে বলা হয় থাইরক্সিন। ঠিক আছে, ভুল করবি না। আর কি আছে এখানকে হরমোন? ক্যাটেকোলামাইন্স বলেছে। স্টেরয়েডস এর মধ্যে কি কি হরমোন এখন মনে পড়ছে, তারপর পরে আমি সব বলবো। স্টেরয়েডস, ইস্ট্রোজেন, প্রোজেস্টেরন, দ্যাট মিন্স অ্যান্ড্রোজেন্স, অ্যান্ড মিনারেলোকর্টিকয়েড, গ্লুকোকর্টিকয়েড, হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, mineralocorticoid, glucocorticoid, then peptides. Most of the hormones are peptides: insulin, glucagon, growth hormone, gastrin hormone. So these are the types. So up to now you know that there is a necessity of endocrine system to control, to balance our internal homeostasis with the help of some glands, different types of glands which releases a chemical messenger which is called hormones. Hormones are mainly three types, that is peptides hormones, steroids types hormone, and these are the amino derivatives. Types are পড়ালাম কেন? Why types are important? Because the mechanism actions is different for different types. Mechanism actions is different due to the receptor presentations is different for different hormones. Most hormones are basically two types, that is a water soluble, these are the chemical types, and property wise types is that is a water soluble hormones and also water মানে আবার fat soluble হবে। So those are water soluble hormones. These hormones acts on target cell where the receptor is present in the cell membrane. Remember all throughout your life. Suppose this is a target cell and this is a receptor present in the cell membrane, and these is the ligand or hormone, and these are mainly water soluble hormones. Water soluble hormones. উইল অ্যাক্ট হিয়ার। কেন? এখানে তো লিপিড বাইলেয়ার আছে, তাহলে একমাত্র ফ্যাট সলিউবল হরমোনসই, সাপোজ, ও তোদের কোনো কালার নেই, ভেরি গুড, চলো ভালো হয়েছে। সাপোজ দিস ইজ দ্য ফ্যাট সলিউবল হরমোন, it will come down. Our receptor may present in the cytosol or in the membrane of nuclear. এখানেও রিসেপ্টর থাকতে পারে, ইন্ট্রা সাইটোপ্লাজমিক এটাও থাকতে পারে। এটা এসে হয় এখানে বাইন্ড করবে, কোন কোন হরমোন আছে এখানে বাইন্ড করবে। আমি জেনারেল বলছি, কিন্তু আমি কোনো হরমোনের নাম আজকে নিইনি, আজকে কোনো হরমোনের নাম নিইনি, বিকজ এইগুলো যদি বেসিক জিনিস না জানা হয় প্রপার এন্ডোক্রাইন সিস্টেম শুরু করতে পারবো না। সো আপ টু দিস endocrine system requires hormones, glands. Hormones are chemically three types, that is peptide, steroid and amino derivatives. And there is a property that is the water soluble, some hormones, and some hormones are the fat soluble. Those are the water soluble hormones, that is acts on the receptor which is present in the target cell membrane. And in case of fat soluble, that is why it pass. Fat soluble is a lipid bilayer is there, you already know. না এটাও কেউ জানিস না যে এটা সেল মেমব্রেন, এটা লিপিড বাইলেয়ার আছে। সো সাম লিপিড ফ্রেন্ডলি হরমোনস উইল পাস থ্রু দিস এন্ড অ্যাক্ট অন দ্য রিসেপ্টর প্রেজেন্ট ইন দ্য সাইটোসল or maybe present in the nuclear. What will happen? Suppose in this case when this receptor bind this, what will happen mainly? These will stimulate the হ্যাঁ সেগুলো আসছি পরে। সো দিস আর বেসিক বলছি, আমি কোনো এনজাইমের নাম বলছি না। দিস পোরশনস when this ligand will bind to the receptor, the intercytoplasmic part of the receptor conformational change will occur. জেনারেল, আমি কোনো জি প্রোটিন প্রোটিন কিছু বলছি না, জি কিউ বলছি না, জিএস বলছি না, জিআই বলছি না। So this conformational change will occur and then sequence of reactions will give the production of some second messenger. So here is the first messenger. It is a first messenger and this is the second messenger, and second messenger helps not only cyclic benzene, that may be different things. Many things will can act as a second messenger. Second messenger maybe as a calcium also, maybe phosphate also, maybe IP3, maybe DAC, protein kinase I, protein kinase A, protein kinase B. These things are secondary messenger. Need কি, দরকারটা কি না অ্যাপ্রোপ্রিয়েট রেসপন্সকে হেল্প করার জন্য, অ্যাপ্রোপ্রিয়েট রেসপন্সে হেল্প করার জন্য যা আমার সেকেন্ড মেসেঞ্জার দরকার, সেই সেকেন্ড মেসেঞ্জার এখানে বাইন্ডিং এর পরে আসছে, এবং দিস লাইগেন্ড অর হরমোনস আর দ্য ওয়াটার সলিউবল হতেই হবে। দ্যাট ইজ দ্য রুল। নাও if this is come ligand, it will act, কিভাবে কাজ করবে? যখনই এটা কাইন্ডিং হলো, আলটিমেটলি এখানে কি আছে, ক্রোমোসোমস আছে বা জেনেটিক এক্সপ্রেশন আছে। That means this ligand receptor will come to connect with this portion of the gene. It is called hormone responsive element. এটা বড় করে লিখছি, hormone responsive element আছে on chromosome. Suppose this is a chromosome inside the nucleus. This is a portion, it is called H element, hormone responsive element, and this element will attach with this receptor bound with ligand. What will happen? It will happen as a transcription factor. এটা তোরা বায়োকেমিস্ট্রি পড়েছিস। This portion will act for the transcription and ultimately translation. Translation means translation বল না, সিম্পল জিনিস। ট্রান্সলেশন আর ট্রান্সক্রিপশন দুটো তো আছে। ট্রান্সলেশন জিজ্ঞেস করেছি, ট্রান্সলেশন মিন্স ফরমেশন অফ mRNA, দ্যাট মিন্স আলটিমেটলি প্রোটিন। Translations means ultimately protein will be formed from mRNA. Transcription করলো আগে mRNA তৈরি করলো, then ultimately translation. Translations means protein synthesis. Protein synthesis means what? Required protein synthesis to give the required response. একটা হরমোন বেরোচ্ছে, সে বেরিয়ে এখানে লাইগ্যান্ডের সঙ্গে এই রিসেপ্টর সঙ্গে লাগছে, কিন্তু সে সেল মেমব্রেনে লাগতে পারছে না। দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াই দ্যাট ইজ ওয়াটার friendly নয়, that is fat friendly, fat soluble, that pass to the lipid bilayer, enters inside the cell, and that may দুভাবে এটা হতে পারে, এমন নয় যে এটা হচ্ছে এটা হচ্ছে, যাই হোক না কেন আলটিমেটলি ইন্টারনাইজড হবে এটা to connected with the hormone responsive element and ultimately from a protein synthesis. Protein synthesis, protein of required protein. রিকোয়ার্ড প্রোটিন মিন্স আমার একটা প্রোটিন লাগবে যেটা গিয়ে আমার রেসপন্স করবে, সেই প্রোটিনটা তৈরি করবে। আমি কোনো হরমোনের নাম ইচ্ছা করে নিইনি এখন। সো দিস অনলি অ্যাক্টস লাইক অল দ্য স্টেরয়েডস হরমোনস অ্যাক্ট লাইক দিস। All the steroids hormone, steroids mean fat soluble. This acts this way. But in case of amino derivative, only thyroxine or T3, T4 acts like this. It is exception. Peptides কি বলেছি কাজ করবে এইভাবে, সেকেন্ড মেসেঞ্জার তৈরি করে। স্টেরয়েডস কি বললাম, প্রোটিন সিনথেসিস করবে, আলটিমেটলি ক্রোমোজোমের সঙ্গে অ্যাটাচমেন্ট করে হরমোন রেসপন্সিভ এলিমেন্টকে দিয়ে ট্রান্সক্রিপশন করার পরে ট্রান্সলেশন করবে, রিকোয়ার্ড প্রোটিন সিনথেসিস ফর দ্য রেসপন্স। কি রেসপন্স সেটাও আমি বলিনি এখন। রেসপন্স তো বিভিন্ন রকম হতে পারে। রেসপন্স হতে পারে একটা সেকেন্ডারি সেক্সুয়াল ক্যারেক্টার হবে, একটা আমার গ্রোথ হতে হবে, একটা আমার বোনের আমার ক্যালসিয়াম কমে গেছে, ক্যালসিয়ামটা আমাকে বাড়াতে হবে। সো দিস থিংস আর দ্য রেসপন্স। The response is protein will do the final response in a target cell. That target cell forms in this way protein synthesis, steroid hormones and thyroxine. Thyroxine, though it is not a specific steroid but amino derivatives. তিনটে পার্ট বলেছিলাম, peptide, steroid and amino derivatives, and these amino derivatives are like T3 and T4 will act like this, like steroid hormones. Remember this. So up to this, কি জানলি? Hormones, glands, hormones 3 types, mainly chemically, peptides, steroids and amino groups, amino derivatives, 1, 2, 3. Then 2 types of hormones and 2 types of receptor. That is a water soluble hormones and fat soluble hormones. Water soluble hormones act on the receptor present in the cell membrane, and the water fat friendly or fat soluble hormones will act on the receptor present inside the cell or on the membrane of the nucleus, that means inside the cell, that may act as a transcription factor. এটাকে বলা হয় total transcription factor. So transcription will act, ultimately will cause translation and protein synthesis to give the response. ফিনিশ। এই আজকে যেটা বলছি সেটা নিয়ে পুরো এন্ডোক্রাইন সিস্টেম হবে। এইটা যদি তুই বুঝতে পারিস যে কোনো হরমোনে লাগাতে পারবি। পরীক্ষা জানুক আর না জানুক সব জানা কোশ্চেন পাবি না। সো দিস আর দ্য বেসিক থিংস অফ ওভারঅল হরমোনস অ্যান্ড ইটস লাইগেন্ডস, রিসেপ্টরস। তাহলে রিসেপ্টরস আমাদের হরমোন অ্যাকশনের জন্য 2 টাইপস, হ্যাঁ, দ্যাট ইজ one is on the cell membrane and another is inside the cell. Inside the cell means that may be intercytoplasmic, in cytosol, in the cytosol or in the membrane of nucleus or maybe inside the nucleus also. কিছুই ফরক পড়ে না। That acts as a basically as a transcription factor after combining with the hormone responsive element. হরমোন রেসপন্সিভ এলিমেন্টটা কি একটু বায়োকেমিস্ট্রি দেখি পড়বি, তাহলে বুঝতে পারবে। And that after that connections with receptor and ligand with the hormone responsive element of the chromosome, then that goes for the transcription, translation and protein synthesis. Bas. Suppose a male child of 8 years old presented with obesity, lack of movement, lack of energy, lack of appetite, hyperpigmentation, probable diagnosis. So a male child, 8 years old, having a complaint of obesity, মোটা, lack of movement, এক জায়গায় বসলে এক জায়গাতেই থাকে, বসে থাকে। আমার কাছে এসছিল 6 মাস আগে, হ্যাঁ, না সেটা তো আমি এখন বলিনি, কি প্রবলেম আছে আমি যাইনি, আমি ডায়াগনোসিস করতে বলেছি। এনার্জি নেই, অ্যাপেটাইট নেই, very important term, that is hyperpigmentation. So এতগুলো যখন সিমটম আছে তখন কোনো একটা ডিজিজ হবে যেটা মাল্টিপল প্রবলেমসকে ক্রিয়েট করছে, মাল্টিপল প্রবলেমস ইন মাল্টিপল অর্গানস ইনভলভমেন্ট ইজ দেয়ার। আমার অ্যাপ্রোচটা এটাই আর কি, যে আমি তখন ভাববো যে এটা এন্ডোক্রিন সিস্টেমের ডায়াগনোসিস নয়, তো বক্তব্য আমার ক্লিয়ার। হাইপারপিগমেন্টেশন হচ্ছে, অ্যাপেটাইট নেই, তা বলছে ওবেসিটি আছে। সো ওবেসিটি মানেই যে সবসময় থাইরয়েডটা নাও হতে পারে, তাহলে আমি ফোকাস করবো না এখানে, শুধু আমি এই দিকে চলে যাব, এনার্জি কম, অ্যাপেটাইট কম, হাইপারপিগমেন্টেশন হয়েছে। সো দিস থিংস আর এ প্রবলেম অফ এন্ডোক্রাইন সিস্টেম। আপাতত এটা বুঝলেই হবে প্রবলেমস গুলো কিভাবে থাকতে পারে। এই ছোট ছোট টার্মগুলো খুব হেল্পফুল হবে তোদের। দ্যাট ইজ হাইপারপিগমেন্টেশন। Hyperpigmentation in a lack of movement, lack of energy, lack of appetite, even with obesity, confusing ব্যাপার। কি হলে বাবা হতে পারে? তাহলে নাও মাই অ্যাপ্রোচ শুড বি হোয়াট, যে এটা আমার কোন সিস্টেমে যাচ্ছে, এতগুলো প্রবলেমস আছে, হাইপার পিগমেন্টেশন আছে। হাইপার পিগমেন্টেশনটা কি জিনিস, মাথায় কিছু আসছে? হাইপার পিগমেন্টেড মানে হ্যাঁ কালো হয়ে গেল, ঠিক আছে, দেন আর কিছু? কোন কোন অর্গান ফরমেশন, পিগমেন্টেশন ফরমেশনে হেল্প করে? হ্যাঁ, মেলানোসাইট তো স্কিনে গেল, কি হয় পিউটারিতে? মেলানোসাইট স্টিমুলেটিং হরমোন পিউটো থেকে আসে না রে, আসে অ্যাড্রিনাল কর্টেক্স। অ্যাড্রিনাল কর্টেক্সের একটা পার্ট আছে, কর্টেক্সের আবার 3টে পার্ট আছে, তাই তো? জোনা গ্লোমেরুলোসা, জোনা ফেসিকুলেটা, জোনা রেটিকুলারিস। তো এইখান থেকে কর্টিসোল যেমন বেরোয়, এসিটি যেমন বেরোয় কর্টেক্স থেকে, দেন মেলানোসাইট স্টিমুলেটিং হরমোনও বেরোয়। দ্যাট মিনস আমরা অ্যাড্রিনাল গ্ল্যান্ডের কথা ভাববো। So if we think adrenal gland, then we think only the two step, that is the adrenal cortex, আর তো কিছু নেই। যখন পড়া হয়ে যাবে, when you will complete your teaching, you will learn that the adrenal cortex releases some cortisol, mineralocorticoid, glucocorticoid, melanocyte stimulating hormones, and medulla releases the catecholamines. That means the epinephrine, norepinephrine, or adrenaline or non-adrenaline, both the term is same. So these are the adrenal gland. Now question is that the target cell is the adrenal gland. That means somewhere it is released some stimulatory hormones. So stimulatory hormones are the key ACTH released from pituitary. কোথা থেকে? anterior pituitary. ACTH এলো কোথা থেকে বাবা? তার জন্য না, হাইপোথ্যালামাস থেকে আসে না। হাইপোথ্যালামাস থেকে স্টিমুলেশন, কি দিয়ে স্টিমুলেশন হয়? হ্যাঁ, রিলিজিং হরমোন। ভেরি গুড। সো দিস টার্মস আর ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। I am focusing until that this period adrenal gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus এ ঢুকে গেছে. Now we are thinking that what is happening here. That when we have to know that hypothalamus, we have to know about pituitary glands, and we have to know the target organs or target cells. So if we know this is the hypothalamus, then this is the stalk. তাই তো আমি খুব একটা ভালো আঁকতে পারি না. And these are the pituitary gland. এটাকে বোধহয় ইনফান্ডিবুলাম বলে না? হ্যাঁ, আমি অ্যানাটমি একদম বুঝি না, প্রচন্ড বাজে লাগে আমার, কিন্তু অ্যানাটমি জানতে হয় এই যে এইগুলোর জন্য. কেন অ্যানাটমি পড়ছি বুঝতে পারছিস? এইগুলোর জন্য. তো থ্যালামাসের বিলো অ্যান্ড টু সাম এক্সটেন্ট ইনফিরিয়রলি হাইপোথ্যালামাস থাকে. থ্যালামাসের টু সাম এক্সটেন্ট ইনফিরিয়র অ্যান্ড বিলো hypothalamus is there. And why importance hypothalamus in endocrine system? Basically what happens, hypothalamus is a control system or control center of both neural system and endocrine system. কেন হবে এটা? কেন হবে? কারণ here different nuclei are present. Supraoptic, p-optic, paraventricular nuclei, নামগুলো শুনেছিস তো? So these nuclei are there. What are the nuclei? Collection of the cell body, and these are tract. এইটা সাপোজ এটাকে পোস্টেরিয়র করে দিচ্ছি আর এটাকে অ্যান্টেরিয়র করে দিচ্ছি, মানে অ্যান্টেরিয়র লোব বলে দিচ্ছি. নাও অ্যান্টেরিয়র লোবের নাম কি? আরেকটা adenohypophysis. Each and every word is important. Adenohypophysis. Hypophysis means pituitary. Adeno means gland. So some glandular tissue are there in the anterior part of the pituitary, and this is called posterior pituitary. কি বলা হয়? Neurohypophysis. So this is called neurohypophysis. Neuro, কথাটা কি আছে? Neuro. That means some neural connections or neural tract is coming through this lobe. এটা একটা ট্র্যাক, মানে অনেকগুলো অ্যাকশন নিয়ে একটা ট্র্যাক তৈরি হয়, জানিস তোরা অলরেডি. সেরকম অনেকগুলো সেল বডি নিয়ে এখানে একটা নিউক্লিয়াই তৈরি হয়েছে. সাপোজ দিস ইজ এ সুপ্রাঅপটিক. Suppose this is a supraoptic nucleus. Supraoptic nuclei is this one. I am like to focus you that the two parts of the pituitary is different. That's why it releases different hormones. This is the adeno part, means some blood circulations are mainly the capillaries are there. Adenohypophysis. And this is the neurohypophysis. Neural connection from the hypothalamus nuclei is there in the posterior part of that. We know that from the posterior pituitary, ADH and oxytocin is released. আমরা জানি এগুলো পড়েছি. But remember it, ADH and oxytocin does not synthesize in the posterior pituitary. It is synthesized in the hypothalamus. এইখানেতে তৈরি হয়, তারা এখান দিয়ে এসে এইখানেতে তারা সাইন্যাপটিক ভেসিকেল করে থাকে. Then when the stimulus come, any hormonal action, stimulus must be there. Suppose stress, একটা সাপ চলে এসছে, আমরা কি করছি? ছুটছি, এ করছি, দৌড়াচ্ছি, যাচ্ছি, fight flight response. Okay, so what will happen? Stress response will stimulate. Stress, এটা একটা স্ট্রেস. এক্সাম হচ্ছে, ভাইবা হচ্ছে, এটা একটা স্ট্রেস. গিয়ে ভুলভাল বলছিস. Stress is coming into the nuclei and that stimulation goes down to the tract and ultimately synaptic vesicle to release the hormones. That may be the pregnancy, labor also. That may be the osmolarity changes also. That may be stress also. Whatever it may be, these are the concern about that important findings is that it does not produce ADH and oxytocin. Posterior pituitary তৈরি করে না, এটা ভাইবাতে জিজ্ঞেস করে। অ্যান্টেরিয়র থেকে হরমোনস এখান থেকেই তৈরি হবে, কারণ these are the different cells, trophic cells are there. Gonadotrope, somatrope, thyrotrope. So the tropes are present as the cells are here, from where some stimulating hormones will release, will come. But remember, during the labor, during the suckling, a baby sucking his breast milk, during the sucking period, now during the osmolarity changes, BP changes, এগুলো কেন বলছি? কারণ আমি জানি ADH এখান থেকে রিলিজ হবে কি কি? One is ADH and another is oxytocin. ADH এর কি? অ্যান্টি ডাইউরেটিক হরমোন, মানে ডাইউরেটিক যেটা করবে তার উল্টো। That means it will reserve the fluid. Suppose we are losing fluid and blood volume and BP will decreasing. Osmolarity will increasing. Osmolarity increase means সোডিয়াম লেভেলটা বেড়ে গেছে, সলিউট বেড়ে গেছে, ফ্লুইড কমে গেছে, তাই osmolarity বেড়ে গেছে। So these are the basically stimulus for this nuclei. আমার বক্তব্য হচ্ছে যে any hormonal response or secretions from the pituitary or ultimately target cell, there must be some stimulus. তো কি স্টিমুলাস হবে? যখন লেবার হচ্ছে তখন আমার ডেলিভারির সময় ইউটেরাইন কন্ট্রাকশন ইজ মাস্ট। ইউটেরাইন কন্ট্রাকশন ছাড়া বেবি আউট হবে না। ইউটেরাইন কন্ট্রাকশন করবে কে? অক্সিটোসিন, নাম্বার ওয়ান। সাকলিং রিফ্লেক্স, দ্যাট মিনস বেবি ডেলিভারি হয়েছে, মায়ের ব্রেস্ট ফিড করবে, সাকলিং রিফ্লেক্সে অক্সিটোসিন রিফ্লেক্স উইল কাম। কি করবে? ব্রেস্টে মায়োএপিথেলিয়াল ডাক্টকে কন্ট্রাকশন করবে, নাম্বার টু। নাম্বার থ্রি, দিস অলসো হেল্পস ইন দ্য postpartum psychosis, emotional bonding between the mother and child, and also some goodwillness. Oxytocin অনেক কাজ, oxytocin নিয়ে প্রচুর রিসার্চ হয় এখন। Oxytocin is helps to loving care, কাউকে দেখে ভালো লাগছে অপোজিট সেক্সকে, oxytocin will help. So these things are very helpful for everyday life. So oxytocin is released from, not synthesized from, released from the posterior pituitary, but it does not mean that it will synthesize here. It is synthesized in the nuclei. There is a supraoptic nuclei mainly. Basically nuclei গুলো চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাবে, supraoptic paraventricular, এই paraventricular থেকে basically এগুলো তো এরকম করে আসে। So these things are also releases the oxytocin. ADH mainly supraoptic nuclei will come again and again. Today is the basic concept is that some stimulus must be there to stimulate the hypothalamus nucleus, to release or to stimulate the pituitary, so that they release the ADH, and ADH goes to the in the target cell. এই টার্গেট সেলগুলো কোথায়? ADH এর কোথায় বল? কালেক্টিং টিবিউলস, রেনালে চলে গেল। অক্সিটোসিন কোথায়? না ব্রেস্ট টিস্যু, ব্রেস্টের মায়োএপিথেলিয়াল ডাক্টে, ইউটেরাস myometrium is there. So these are the target cells. Yes, ওটা তো অন্য জিনিস। অক্সিটোসিন এর ওটা খুব বেশি রোল নেই, বেসিক্যালি কন্ট্রাকশনটাই করে মেনলি টু প্রমোট দ্য ডেলিভারি। So these are the hypothalamus, pituitary and neurohypophysis, adenohypophysis. Adenohypophysis means some blood vasculations is there. That does not mean that এখানে তার কোনো capillaries নেই. No, এখানেও capillary আছে. But neural connections are there. That is called neuro. কারণ blood না থাকলে এ বেরোচ্ছে কি লাফি চলে যাবে? No, no, no. Diffusion হয়. So these vessels will ultimately connected with the systemic vessels, systemic circulation, and then goes to the liver, kidney, and then the collecting tubules to reabsorption of the fluids. Reabsorption করা হয় to increase the কি blood volume. কমে গেছে ওখানে স্টিমুলাস দিয়েছি আমি এডিএইচ এর জন্য বলছি, অক্সিটোসিনের জন্য। অক্সিটোসিন লেবার হচ্ছে, মা কি করছে, বেবি পুশ ডাউন করছে, পুশ ডাউন, and that causing the stimulus, it goes to the hypothalamus. That is the stimulus, and then hypothalamus nuclei stimulating to release or synthesis the oxytocin, come back to the posterior, and then circulation in systemic circulation goes to the again in the endometrial myometrium to contract the myometrium. That delivery will come out. Simple thing. So stimulus is must. Without stimulus, দরকার কি আছে ওর? আমার সঙ্গে যদি এ সব সময় দিয়ে বের করতে থাকে একদম মুশকিল হয়ে যাবে, তাই না? বাড়তে থাকবে সবকিছু। ইফ রিকোয়ার্ড, সাপোজ তোরা যে কালকে ডিজেতে নাচ করছিস, আর তো ছিল না, সো ভেরি গুড ড্যান্স, আমি থাকলে আমিও করতাম। সো দিস ইজ osmolarity or osmoreceptors are present in the hypothalamus. My concern is that whenever you are dancing or any activity, sweating is coming down, sodium is less, osmolarity will increase, and that means you feel thrust. মনে একটু জল খাই, একটু জল খেয়ে আবার নাচলি, আবার জল খেয়ে। What is happening this? This is happening the stimulus. Thrust center is stimulated and simultaneously osmoreceptor present in the hypothalamus. This osmoreceptor is stimulated and gives the stimulus to synthesize the ADH, come down to the posterior pituitary, come to the systemic circulation, and goes to the collecting tubule to reabsorb the water, to maintain the osmolarity, to maintain the osmoreceptor stimulation, to maintain our body fluid volume. That's enough. So each and every step, what are you doing, what is happening, think. তাহলেই পরীক্ষাতে লিখে আসতে পারবি। Anything it comes about the ADH, I think you can write, those are listening my lecture, one page তো লিখে আসা উচিত। ছবি আঁকবি একটা, এমনি করে লিখবি এটা অ্যাডিনো, এটা পিটুইটারি, and then ADH is the target organs is there. Sometimes you may write also that hormonal actions like that, it may be the water soluble, fat soluble, you can write anything. যদি কিছু নাও জানিস, বেসিক কনসেপ্ট যদি থাকে, কোনো অ্যান্সার আটকাবে না, আমি জানি। সেটা পারফেক্টলি অ্যান্সার না হলেও 5 মার্ক উঠেই যায়, কারণ ওই কথাগুলো ওই অ্যান্সারটা দিতে গেলে লাগে। তাই ওই অ্যান্সারটার জন্য লোকে পাস করিয়ে তোকে বেরোবে। হয়তো পারফেক্ট অ্যান্সারটা হয়নি, যেটা হতো সেটা হয়নি, দ্যাট ডাজ নট মিন দ্যাট ইউ উইল গেট 0 ইফ ইউর কনসেপ্ট ইজ ক্লিয়ার, কনসেপচুয়াল। এখানে যদি গল্প মারিস তাহলে আবার হবে না, সেটা কেরকম মেরেছে। সো these are the basic starting of endocrinology. It is a huge chapter. I don't know where to start and where to finish. আমি জানি না, এই যদি বললে আবার থামাবো, নইলে এই চললো। এন্ডোক্রাইন সিস্টেমের মধ্যে অনেক রকম ইন্টারেস্টিং কেসেস আছে, সেই কেসেসগুলো বলতে বলতে আমি যাব। Some hormones are there, some different types of molecules, chemical messengers are there. In our day to day life, এই যে তোরা এত স্ট্রেসে আছিস, থিঙ্কিং একটা, কেউ সাইকোসোশালি একটা বিহেভ করছে, কেউ বলছে যে না আমি ড্রাগসই নেব, কেউ বলছে যে আমি নেব, আমার এটাই ভালো লাগছে। সো দিস থিংস আর অলসো দ্য কন্ট্রোল ইন আওয়ার CNS, that is controlled by the serotonin. So that's why some serotonin uptake inhibitors, serotonin antagonists is coming on in the drugs. So serotonin is a chemical messenger type actions, and so these are important for your endocrinology also. So whatever it may be, these things about the law all throughout your day-to-day life in daily activities কি হচ্ছে secondary sexual character কেন হয় কিভাবে হয় so these are all the always this hypothalamus and pituitary will be there কারণ এখান থেকেই ম্যাক্সিমাম হরমোনস গুলো বের হয় but how it is coming down it is a different hormones from adenohypophysis is coming down this is a growth hormone there is a growth hormone there is a thyroid stimulating hormone there is a FSH LH তাই তো ACTH these all are coming but from hypothalamus releasing hormones are released releasing hormone means that acts on some endocrine cells present in the pituitary gland gland মানে কিছু সেল নিয়ে হয়েছে gland these are the endocrine glands and these are called the trophic cells yes that is a somatotroph কি করবে না growth hormone releasing hormone acts on the আমি এগুলো সব পরে আবার বলবো growth somatotroph এর উপর অ্যাকশন করে ও growth hormone রিলিজ করবে so releasing hormone trophic hormones and then this is the stimulating hormone then go ultimately formation of the target cell to release the main hormone that is the in case of in case of thyroid stimulating hormone that releases the T3 and T4 in case of gonadotropin releasing hormone that is the growth hormone is coming out in this way gonadotropin releasing hormone is released the some androgens like the FSH LH FSH LH acts in the gonads FSH and LH acts on the gonads and gonads releases as per sexual character or XY and XX it releases estrogen testosterone and progesterone and ultimately acts on in other organs also but remember that does not mean that our glands are only is hypothalamus and pituitary it is present like that hypothalamus pituitary pineal gland thyroid gland parathyroid gland backside and then come to the thymus gland and then নিচে চলে যায় adrenaline gland এইভাবে চিন্তা করে করে করবি adrenaline gland then the gonads these are the main the glands of endocrine system but again except that some other glands which releases hormone you know already that is the pancreas the alpha cell and beta cell insulin and glucagon is coming down in the pancreas but pancreas or pancreatic gland is does not under control of the pituitary gland remember number 1 number 2 parathyroid gland also is not under control of pituitary gland number 3 adrenal medulla not cortex adrenal medulla is does not obey the any rule of pituitary gland that means last line is that our hypothalamus thalamus is basically CEO chief executive officer and then this is the pituitary gland this is a general manager GM and it is supposed to that is thyroid gland adrenal cortex and also that is another gland is that adrenal gland is the controlled by the pituitary okay but here that is the parathyroid pancreas and also adrenal medulla does not role there is no role of this GM কে কন্ট্রোল করতে পারবে না কোনো কথা শোনে না so CEO is there is a hypothalamus it gets all the information input is there and then is sent যে ভাই GM তুমি কাজ করো আমার লোক বলছে এটা প্রবলেম হয়েছে তুমি এবারে বের করো সেটাকে সলভ করার জন্য then these are the target organs the target glands that controlled by the pituitary is these and those are not controlled by the pituitary are parathyroid pancreas and the adrenal medulla remember adrenal medulla means you are releasing the epinephrine norepinephrine does not control on the pituitary gland কেন তার কারণ anything is attached to the pituitary gland means it becomes slow আমার সাপ এসেছে আমাকে ছুটতে হবে অ্যাড্রিনালিন দরকার পালাতে হবে আমি এখন পিটুইটারির জন্য বসে থাকবো সে কখন এসে আমাকে স্টিমুলেট করবে হবে না that's why it is independent of the pituitary gland that is the basic concept of a endocrinology overview. Any queries are there? If there is no queries, so class dismissed for today. Thank you very much. But still, I am very disheartened by the seeing your preparation. Okay. So today I will discuss about the health education method. Perhaps you are in the class, last class health education. Can you tell me what is health education? Perhaps you have participated? No. Health education, okay, can I repeat just one line? Health education means to bring about the change in the health behavior, which is not desirable. Now clear? Can you repeat? Anybody can repeat what I am telling? Health education means it's a process to bring about a change in the behavior of the human being which are not desirable. In Bengali what we call that আমাদের ব্যবহারের পরিবর্তন আনতে হবে. These behavior, which behavior are not desirable, that behavior we do not want. And again I told you very many times that behavior is the main cause, behavior is the main problem, and behavior is the main solution. Are you agreed? Behavior is the main problem and behavior is the main solution. So we have to change the behavior which are risky. Which are risky. That behavior we have to change. But you see, we are human beings. Our behavior is unpredictable. Very difficult to change the behavior. It's a slow process. But that is our main motto. In any type of education, even in medical education, even in the field of health, to change the behavior is your main ultimate goal. If we can change the behavior, many problems will be solved. Yes, there are many techniques, there are many ways through which we can change our behavior. Okay. So these are the methods of health education, are the techniques or ways in which a series of activities are carried out. What for? To communicate ideas. That means the ideas that we did not know. Okay, we have to communicate ideas. We can communicate information. At the same time, we can develop necessary attitude and skills. Okay, these are the techniques. These are the methods of health education. Okay. If we can classify the methods, that means I am intended or I am interested to change the behavior of the human being. Please. I am interested to change the behavior of the human being. It can be done in one-to-one basis. It can be done in a small group like you. You are the small group. Okay, perhaps you have participated in the group discussions in the class. In your physiology class, perhaps you have participated in the group discussions. Is it not? So what is a group? Yes, right you are. Group means an aggregation or collection of individuals who meet together to achieve a common goal. You are a group now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You are a group. You have come here to achieve your goal, to know something else. Okay. With the help of the group discussions also, we can be able to change the behavior. I am coming one by one in a nutshell. Okay. So, individual method means this method involves person to person or face to face communication. Just face to face communication, one to one situation. Okay. Maximum 2, 3, 4. But one person will talk to each other. Say for example, best example is counseling. Perhaps you know the name counseling. Counseling means what? It's a process of changing the behavior of the human being in a face-to-face situation. Okay. But in case of this individual method, there is an ample opportunity of two-way communication. And always the counselor as well as the counselee, or the counselor or the client. So client has the opportunity to ask questions for clarifications. There is face-to-face communication. So this is individual method. Best examples is interview and counseling. Second one is group method. This method involves a group of limited persons in the teaching learning situations who have some kind of health education needs about the health problem. So for example, you have the need to know about a specific problem. If you meet together in a group, in group situations, this is the best method in a teaching learning situations to change the behavior of the human being. Small group. Because you see, in this small group also, every group members have the opportunity to ask questions to the facilitator or to the discussion leader for clarification of their doubts. These are the group methods. This small group can get some opportunity to ask questions. Say for example, you are the small group. You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in number. So, if I conduct a group session, so within the group sessions, you will have the opportunity to ask questions to me for your clarification. Again, I can learn from you, you can learn from me. It's a two-way communication. Best examples is demonstration, group discussion, role playing, panel discussion, colloquy. One by one, today I will finish it quickly. Last one is mass method. Individual, group, mass. This method is especially meant for large populations, heterogeneous population. Perhaps you have the idea about heterogeneity and homogeneity. Homogeneity means similar. Heterogeneity means different, diverse. Okay. In mass communication, mass methods mean a large number of heterogeneous people. It helps in reaching broad section of a large population at a time and make them aware of the health problems, not education. In case of mass education, usually no change can be brought about. Only with the help of the mass methods, we can aware the population. Then the best method is individual, but yes, some lacuna is there. One-to-one situation, how many population we can cover? Say for example, you are 80 number, fine. I am discussing here, okay, with the help of the lecture. But you see, if your number is more than 100, so if I want to teach one by one, can it be possible for me? No. So for the disease, small group discussion is very important. Group method is very important. Always. On the basis of the feedback again, we can classify the methods into two ways. One is one way or didactic, and there is two way or Socrates. Didactic means one way. Suppose I am telling you, I am delivering lecture to you, okay, what I am telling, okay, that's all. You will be the passive learner. You will not have any opportunity to ask questions to me. Then it is one way. That means from dash to flow, direction is one way. That is called didactic. But you see, it is not that much helpful in teaching learning situation. But you see, in the paucity of so many things, time, resources, we are compelled to deliver lecture. This is one way. And second one is two-way or Socratic. Perhaps you know the name of the Socratic, a personal philosopher was there. Socrates was a philosopher. Okay? He believed in Socrates. He believed in two-way communication. Okay? So for that reason, this is named as two-way or Socrates. Now, same thing I have written here also. Go through it. Individual methods. Just for example, interview, counseling. Interview means one-to-one situation. Counseling means one-to-one situation. One person will be there only. Then group methods. So many methods are there. We used to employ all these methods in teaching learning situations so that you can be able to learn in meaningful way very many things. You can acquire the skills. First one is demonstration. Perhaps you heard the name demonstrations. Okay. Panel discussions. I will discuss little bit one by one. Panel discussions? No. Yes? Have you heard panel discussions? Colloquy? No. It's a method again. Group situations. Role playing? Yes. Can you give a similar examples of role playing? The name is not role playing, but similar to role playing. Drama. Good. Drama. But role play is different from drama, but similar situation. Symposium? No. Group discussions, definitely we have heard group discussions. Brainstorming? Storming the brain. Batch sessions, workshops, seminar, study trip. So these are under group methods. That means in a group we are trying to bring about change in the behavior by widening knowledge, by helping the learners to acquire skills, by helping the learner to change their attitudes and change their practice. Behavior will change. And next one is mass method. Heterogeneous populations, large populations like lecture. In a lecture class, 150 students, lecture. In the classroom situations, it is called lecture. But if we organize a meeting in the community, that is called speech. Then exhibitions, perhaps you know the terminology. Exhibitions, again it's a mass method through which we can able to not only to aware but to educate a large number of people at a time within a short period. And again health campaign. Now one by one, just in a nutshell, you are attending so many lectures, is it? But you should know what is a lecture. Lecture means it is a carefully prepared oral presentation, is it? By an expert in the presence of the learners and concerning the topics or subject relevant to the audience or learner. So if I happens to be a lecturer, okay, then what I do, I have carefully prepared my presentation according to your need. Systematically, I have arranged what I will tell according to your need. Is it? And now, I can prepare the talk in a logical fashion one by one according to the logic I have prepared. Okay, that is lecture. Okay, it's one way or two way. Lecture. Yes. One way. Definitely it's one way. Why? Lecture is one way. Because you are the learners. Okay, or the audience. In case of lecture, audience do not have any opportunity to ask questions until I ask. Okay. So when it will be converted into forum, then it will be two-way. I will discuss. It is called lecture forum or speech forum. Forum means what? Forum means when a group of people come together, okay, discuss among themselves. That means everybody is discussing. Okay, forum means open discussion. So when the lecture will be converted into forum, that is called lecture forum. But you see, in this lecture classes, usually you do not have any opportunity to ask questions, but yes, at the end, usually we keep 5 minutes or 6 minutes or 7 minutes for discussion. Then we will allow the student to ask for their doubt clarification. That is called lecture forum. So this is lecture. But the question comes, when should we use this method as a method of education, as a method of health education, as a method of communication, as a method of changing the behavior? It should be used when the learners are empty vessel. What does it mean? Learners are empty vessel. Vessel means a pot, empty means nothing is there. We have to pour. We have to pour knowledge. We have to provide some knowledge or minimum knowledge. Then only you can be able to interact with me. Is it? So, in case of lecture sessions, when we will use lecture, say for example, you do not know anything about, say, anatomy. Okay, so we conduct lecture sessions. You do not know about the different methods of health education, so use lecture sessions. When you will know something else, say for example, anatomy or physiology, say for example, what I should say, this nervous system. Okay, once the lecture will be arranged, on the basis of the lecture, you will have some idea about this nervous systems. Then we will conduct to a method. Say for example, group discussions, panel discussions, on the basis of which you can interact with us. Okay. But in case of lecture, usually it is assumed the learners do not have any knowledge on the basis of which they can interact. They are the empty vessels. That means they do not have any knowledge on the basis of which they can participate. Next, it should be used when the objective is to provide knowledge of the learner, not the skill. Through the lecture, we cannot help you to acquire the skills. When our objective will be help the learner to acquire skills, then practical. Practical means what? Either group discussion or demonstrations, hands-on practice. Okay. But when our objective is to provide knowledge only knowledge, in that case, we use lecture as a method of education. At the same time, it should be used in the forenoon when learners are with full of energy. In the afternoon sessions, usually in the fag end of the session, we should not arrange any lecture. Lecture forenoon and then group discussion, panel discussion, practicals, everything should be arranged in the afternoon. Again, timing is very important because in the morning, everybody, not only the lecturers or the teachers, when the students are full of energy in the morning sessions. In the morning sessions, lectures should be organized. Even you see in the classes, in the schools, we have passed the school ages. Okay? Say for example, English, maths, physics, chemistry, biology could have been arranged in the first session. Adamadi. Okay, আমি পরে কথা বলছি মাস্টার the storytelling, drill, and then what I should say, history, only knowledge, no question of thinking like that. So these classes used to arrange in this afternoon session. Is it? What I should say? Tough. Okay. You have to apply your mind, brain in the morning session. Likewise, in the lecture also, it should be organized in the forenoon session, not in the afternoon session. Now, person involved in the lecture, one chairman, speaker, and learner or audience. But you see, in the teaching learning situations, here in the classroom situation, no question of the chairperson. Because you see, you know me, I know you. That means learner are not the new one, not the strangers. Even the speakers are not the strangers. But in case of speeches, chairperson must be there. Then who can act as a chairperson? Chairperson must be knowledgeable, number one. about the topics which we will discuss right now. Number 2, he must have the humor. Okay, this is about the chairperson. Knowledgeable, skillful, okay, senior person, highly knowledgeable. And next is speaker or lecturer. Who can act as a speaker or lecturer? Number 1, he must have a knowledgeable person. In terms of knowledge means the topics to be treated, the topics to be discussed. The lecturer or the speaker must have vivid knowledge on the basis of which he will help the learners to know the topics. He must have the ability to use same language which will be understandable by the learner. He must use the lucid word, simple word, not bombasting, high sounding word. So that you means the learner or the audience, you can understand. Not only that, time is limited. Within the limited time, the lecturer or the speaker should be able to finish his task by using simple colloquial language or the words. How you can arrange his lecture or speech? Say for example, 2 to 5 minutes for introduction. If I do not give any introduction, straight away I will start it, so it will be boring for you. So you have to give some introductions, 2 to 5 minutes, then content for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, so 30 plus 5, 35. Then 5 minutes, okay, 5 to 10 minutes for forum, lecture forum or speech forum. So altogether 50 minutes, maximum 1 hour, not more than that. And who will be the learner, the audience? Learner audience will be persons who should have a minimum interest, at least the minimum interest about the topics. Then only you will be able to learn. Pattern of communication in case of lecture, one way. From dash to floor. Until and unless I ask, you do not have any opportunity to ask me for clarification. Communications will be from dash to floor. Now, in your examination, methods may come. So, what you have to write, what it is, just 3 or 4 lines. Okay, when it should be used, along with the advantage and disadvantage. In your syllabus, these different methods along with advantage and disadvantage. What is the advantage of lecture? Number 1, one speaker can teach a good number of learners for enhancing knowledge. If I do not use this aid, I can share with you. So no audiovisual aids is compulsory. This is not expensive. So one teacher can teach large number of students, not expensive, and message can be systematically disseminated. Because you see, being a speaker or being a lecturer, I have prepared myself in logical fashion, 1, 2, 3, 4 points. That will be the advantage of the lecture. What will be the disadvantage? May not fulfill the needs of the learner. If the learners do not bother about this, so আমাকে পড়াতে বলেছে, okay, I have to teach, I will teach. If I may not bother about your needs, whether I am able to fulfill your needs or not, that is the disadvantage. And next, learners are passive listeners. You are the passive learner. You do not have any opportunity to ask questions to me for clarification. No question of doubt clarification. That is the disadvantage of lecture. Now, I have started with mass method because I told you through the mass method we can mainly create awareness. Through group education method we can educate the people for changing the behavior. Okay, lecture is a mass method. Again, exhibition is a mass method, but yes, it is very fruitful. With the help of these exhibitions, we can be able to educate people. Perhaps you attended exhibitions. Did you organize any exhibitions in your life? No. So, exhibitions is a mass education method number 1. It is a combination of different methods and materials. So many methods we can combine. Say for example, some small groups discussion sessions we can organize in the exhibitions. Demonstrations may be there. Okay, will be there. Different types of materials, say posters, flashcards, charts, photographs, models, diorama, everything will be there. And you see, within the exhibition, social data, that means map may be there. We can use map there. We can show the mortality rates, we can show the fertility rates, we can show the production rate, everything. So social data, demographic data can be addressed and it is very effective. Definition, just I will read out the definition. Exhibition is the systematic and meaningful way of displaying the educational materials. All the educational materials we can display in the exhibition correlated around one theme with an intention to educate a large number of people within a limited period of time at a particular place. Say for example, we can organize exhibitions, not here, okay, floor will be there, okay, plain floor will be there. So at a time, lots of people will come, they will go through the exhibitions, demonstrator will be there, they will demonstrate and they will go out. So at a time, large number of people will be educated with help of disseminating different types of materials surrounding a topic. Say for example, anatomy, exhibitions on anatomy, okay, full structures along with the models we can display with the help of different charts, graphs, even models. So you can go through, you can know, you can have the opportunity to see, to listen, what I should say, to visualize, to touch, even to taste. So many types of food we can organize, we can keep. Okay. Now, this is very important. Many a times you may have to organize exhibitions. Okay. So what we have to think before that? We have to think about when it will be organized. That means when is the date? In which date we will organize? Where? That means place. How? That means techniques you have to think about. Who will organize? What will the cost involve? What will the content of the exhibitions? And who will be your audience? Now, what things you have to consider to organize the exhibitions? Number one, materials. What type of materials? You have to be kept, disseminated. Kitna? Dekho, kya? Posters. You can display posters, you can display charts, you can display graphs, you can display leaflets. First the idea was leaflets, pamphlets, little bit. Leaflet means posters, you know. Piece of paper, usually kitna hai? Standard size 3 feet by 2 feet. Either say 3 feet, either say 2 feet. Okay, that means in centimeter this is 90 by 60. One captions will be there, one message will be there, one picture will be there, one logo will be there. So posters will be there, chart, graphs, leaflets, pamphlets, models, specimens, etc. Okay. Material in budget lagega to rupaya. How much cost will be involved and from where you can get it, that you have to think. Next, skills. That means trained and skilled persons for demonstrating the exhibition. And these things, these materials, where you will get production facilities, who will prepare the materials. वो हो गया, इसका बाद कहाँ होगा? You have fixed the place, you have fixed the date, okay? Then you have to construct a booth, floor covering, fencing, and 2 doors will be must. One is entrance, another is exit. The furniture will be there. Then organize the exhibition. Okay. Selection of the materials for display. Arrange and display exhibits in logical and sequential fashion, but at the eye level. Always keep the things. Means you see this is the eye level. Santiniketan Digital Research Laboratory, research center. Dekho, you see this is the eye level, not there. Here also eye level. So when you will display any exhibit, it must be in the eye level. Provision of physical facilities, lighting, table, chair, racks, etc. Provision of interpreters. Though most of the materials are self-explanatory, but you have to keep the interpreter. What to do during the exhibition? Ki korbe? Well, reception of the audience, arrangement of volunteers, demonstration and explain the exhibits. Explain the exhibits until the audience are satisfied. You have to explain, okay? Involve sufficient number of demonstrators. After exhibition, observe the reaction of the audience. What they are discussing among themselves. Baje. Bad exhibition. No, good exhibition. Okay. What you have to do? You have to keep one exercise book for comments of the audience. Advantage? One of the best way to reach the illiterate one. Exhibition may illiterate. Provide better learning to varieties of the experiences like hearing. They can hear because you see you can play the recorder also. So question comes of hearing. They can see, they can touch, they can feel, even they can taste. Opportunity may be provided for practical learning to demonstrations, interesting and attractive because of decorations, good settings and other lively display. Helps the students to develop creativity and also organizing exhibitions can help to learn new knowledge and skills. What are the disadvantage? Difficult to organize in terms of money, in terms of material, and in terms of manpower. Very difficult. Difficult to organize suit different kinds of people with different needs. So, for example, I have organized exhibitions about what I should say about a special topics. Say, for example, importance of delaying marriage. Okay. So only those who are interested they will come, or only anatomy. Those who are interested they will come only. Okay. Difficult to get appropriate place and adjust to the available time due to lack of resources, unfavorable weather, etc. So this is about exhibition. Present behavior with the audience, maintain a record book that I told you for comments of the audience. Next, group methods. पहले है panel discussion. Panel means, perhaps you know the panel. Panel means list of the name, is it? So what is panel discussion? You see, it's an educational method. This is a panel discussion. It's an educational method where 4 to 8 persons are discussing among themselves. They are discussing among themselves. देखो, they are discussing among themselves. Panel discussion means when a group of experts discuss among themselves about a topic interested by the audience, in the presence of the audience. They will discuss the topics. Which topics? According to the interest of the audience. You are the audience, you are the learner. According to your interest. Suppose here is the table. Here 3 or 4 persons will be there. Here 3 or 4 persons will be there. In the middle, moderator will be there. Okay? In the presence of the audience or learners, in the presence of the moderator, they will discuss among themselves. Okay? About the topics that will be interesting to the audience. Okay? Say for example, this panel member number 1 will ask questions to the panel number 8 and 8 will answer the questions raised by 1. In the same time, 7 may ask questions, 3 may ask questions, but you see, they will not allow to ask questions. So for example, 1 cannot ask question to 2, 2 cannot ask question to 3, crosswise. 1 to 8, 2 to 6 like this. Okay? They can ask questions. Okay? They will answer their question in the presence of the audience or learner. You will learn, you will listen what they are discussing about the topics interested by you. According to your interest, these topics will be organized. Okay? Here will be moderator. All are the experts. Say for example, while discussing or during discussion, controversy may be there. Say for example, 1 asks questions to 8. Okay, and 8 had given the answer, but this 1 or 2 or 3 is not satisfied about the answer. Okay, there will be a hot talk. Discussion will be like this to this likewise. Okay. So if there is a hot talk, what will happen? Who will settle this? That's why it is called moderator. Moderator will settle the matter. Okay. Through their reasoning, through the logic, he will settle the matter. That's why it is called moderator. So what will the characteristics of these three persons? How many persons are involved? How many persons are involved? Three groups. One is panel members, another is moderator, and third is the audience. What are the characteristics? They will be knowledgeable persons, skillful persons. They can be able to discuss among themselves according to the need of the audience. If they cannot bother about the need of the audience, they can discuss among themselves, so you will not be benefited. For that reasons, the panel members should have the ability to understand the needs of the learner, and accordingly they will discuss among themselves. Then it will be interesting to you. Next, moderator, skillful person, knowledgeable and skillful. He can have the ability to tackle any situation, because you see, as far as the status is concerned, equal status, all are knowledgeable, all are expert, both sides. Status conflict may be there. If there is a status conflict during discussion, this person moderator will settle one side. And third group is audience, means learner. They are the persons who have a little, at least minimum interest, so that they will be here to listen. This is one way or two way. Didactic or Socratic is very important. One way or two way. Two way. What I told you, one way or two way. Once again I repeat. One way means from dash to floor. That is one way. This is dais. And this is floor. They are discussing here. Who are listening? Audience is listening. So it is one way. They are discussing among themselves, among the dais. One way or two way means, one way means from dais to floor only. And two way means dais to floor, floor to dais. So though the name is panel discussions, name is panel discussion, is it? Name is panel discussion. But don't think it is both way or two way. It is one way. Because you see discussion is going on among the panel members who are on the dais. And this is the audience there. Now, many times, usually we try to convert this panel discussion into panel discussion. What I told you, another word, forum. F-O-R-U-M. Forum. Forum means open discussion. So once it will over, panel discussion is over, then moderator will narrate what has been discussed. To whom? To the audience. Then moderator will say, now it is open for discussion. Now you can ask questions for your clarification. When they have discussed, suppose you have some questions, you will write your question in a piece of paper and listen. Then for clarification of your doubt, once it will be open for discussion, that means when it will be converted into panel discussion forum. That is two way. Then audience will have the opportunity to ask questions to whom? To the moderator, not to the panelist. But yes, according to the questions, they will interpret. Say for example, suppose you have asked questions, a question that was discussed by one. So automatically panelist number one will answer the question. If something happened, if you are not satisfied, then this is the person, knowledgeable and skillful person, he will interfere and settle the matter. How to conduct? Okay, ঠিক আছে, details এ যাচ্ছি না. Pattern of communication, দেখো one way. চলো, advantage, no need to see, just to listen. Okay. What is the advantage? This is the main advantage is that the learner has the opportunity to listen from different types of authority, different types of experts. So once the discussion will be going on, so they will cover the whole topics, everything in detail. That is the main advantage. To present the topic subject by different members actively and dramatically, provides varied knowledge, ideas and experiences, but to get different facts, okay, interesting, and learners can get the opportunity to ask questions and pass comments, which help in teaching learning process at the time of panel forum. Panel discussion, disadvantage, definitely, very difficult to get all these experts at a time, sometimes difficult to get appropriate experts, okay, difficult to set definite time to suit the experts. Third one is experts may not understand the need of the audience. Next, colloquy. This is very, very important to change the behavior of the community as a whole. It's a modification of the panel. It's a modification of the panel. In case of panel discussion, what I told you, that in the both sides of the table, here the moderator. Okay? These are the experts, these are the experts. Panel member, panel member. But in case of colloquy, moderator will be there. In one side, experts will be there. And in other sides, audience representative, your representatives will be here. That is this is called colloquy. What is the advantage? In one side, resource persons will be there. Other sides, audience, you are the audience or you are the learner. Learner representatives will be here. Okay? And in the middle, moderator will be there. So the greatest advantage is that as your representative will be there. Okay? So they will ask questions according to your need. Because they know the need of the audience, they know need of the learners, they are also the learners, okay, and they are representing the learners. Same number. कितने हैं ये देखो? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 resource person, FP होगा. 4 audience representatives. In case of panel discussion, what happened? Either left side ask question to right side, or right side ask question to left side. Both are answerable. Okay? But here only the audience representatives will ask questions. Because you see, audience may not have the knowledge, or they have the little bit knowledge. I told you that in case of group method, when group method will be applicable in any group method, when we think the learners is having a minimum knowledge. On the basis of that, they can ask questions, they can participate. So audience representatives have minimum knowledge, they can ask questions, but question must be intelligent questions, question must be reasonable questions. To whom they will ask? They will ask questions to the representatives, I mean resource persons, okay? So audience representatives will ask questions to resource persons, and resource persons will answer the question. Not that, say for example, to test the knowledge of the resource persons, if any audience representative asks a question to test the knowledge, so he may be to test the knowledge. If an audience representative asks questions, still he may not show the agreement. He will be able to answer the question. That is the advantage. And next one, once the questions of the audience representative will be finished, then what will happen? Will you stop? No. You can ask questions. With the help of this small piece of paper, you can write your question and pass on to your audience representative, and audience representative will ask questions to the resource person, and they will answer the question. So, as there is a student representative or audience representative, automatically all students will be interested to participates. Okay. Once it will be finished, then you will be allowed to ask questions again. That is very important. What is the advantage? Direct audience representations, audience participation, and problem can be solved. Say for example, just one example. We are telling that every village will be ODF, open defecation free. No village will be there where we can get night soil. Everybody will use sanitary latrine. Okay. But what about the funds where we can get it? Okay. So for the reasons we can conduct this type of session. So audience representative means here the panchayat members, okay, leaders will be there and experts will be there. So in that way it will be applicable. What is the disadvantage? Again, same thing, skillful resource persons may not be available sometimes at a time. Experts, moderators may not be available. Audience representative may sometimes feel shy as they have to ask questions to the specialist experts. Next is symposium. Naam sunecho? What? Symposium. Series of lectures. Series of lectures by experts surrounding or about a single topics or closely related topics. Say for example, physiology. So many systems are there. Physiology. So many systems. Okay. So we can arrange symposium. First lecture session ho gaya, finish. After that, for recapitulation, we can arrange symposium. In symposium, say for example, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 persons will be there. Each person will cover one single topic, but the one single part, but the topics is system. Okay, physiological system. Kitne hai? 7, 8, 9 hai. Okay, so everybody will cover again 2. Automatically it will be useful for you. Once that was covered through lecture, during that time you did not have any knowledge. Now it's a question of repetition. So now you have having the knowledge. So in case of symposium, it's a series of lecture speech by knowledgeable, skillful persons about the topics or closely related topics in the presence of the chairperson and audience or learners. The number of resource persons maybe 3, 4, 5, but depends upon topics. If topics is large, members may be more, but yes, question comes about this timing. Usually it lasts for 1 hour or maximum 1 hour 20 minutes. Then again it will be converted into forum. How it can be started? Interesting. So for example, there I told you moderator, but now I am telling chairperson here. Because left side 2 or 3, right side 2 or 3, resource persons will be there. Okay. How we can start it? The chairperson will start. The chairperson will start the symposium. Chairperson will introduce all the speakers to the audience. Then all the speakers will sit in the floor. Then chairpersons will call one by one. So for example, one speaker will cover only introduction part or history part. Okay. Then other persons will come. Then second part, third part, last part, like this. So what the chairpersons will do? During the transition period, one speakers will come. Suppose I call you, you will come, but time is there. Within 5 minutes or 10 minutes you have to finish it. So accordingly, the speaker has prepared himself. Then he has delivered his speech. 10 minutes finished, and he will go. Then second persons will come. Until unless the chairman calls, he will not come. The chairman will call the second person. But before that, during the transition period, very interesting. Say for example, speaker number 1 has been given the responsibility about history of malaria. Okay, history of malaria. He has narrated history of malaria, but some points are missed. Okay, so this chairperson has noticed this point has missed. So So chairperson will supplement this one to the audience, then call the second person. That is the transition period. During the transition period, these chairpersons will supplement what has been left out. Then we will call the second person. In this way, one by one, speaker will come, finish their agenda, go back, and it will be finished. Then, once it will be finished, then 5 or 10 minutes will be there. Usually, it will convert it into forum. That is called symposium forum. Advantage, disadvantage क्या है देखो, patterns of communication, advantage. It is very interesting and useful for the learners as they can get the opportunity to listen from different experts and get up to date data or knowledge, develop the habit of listening and critical thinking. Disadvantage, same thing, difficult to get many experts at a time. There will be chance of repetitions. If these speakers do not consult among themselves before coming to the dais, maybe repetition, because I have prepared one, okay, I will tell that, okay, another person has prepared the same thing, okay, he will also tell that. Did he? Finish, 5 minutes. Group discussion. What is group discussion? You have participated in group discussion so many times. Here also, group discussion means it is a valuable educational method because all the participants are given equal chance to participate. In these methods, you will get equal opportunity, equal chance. Everybody will get chance to participate. Who will be there? What will be the shape of the group discussions? I mean, basically, I don't know. Shape of the group discussion? This is the shape of the group discussion, definitely circular, or we can say semicircular like this. This is now semicircular. Is it like that? No, semicircular. এখানে কে থাকবে? L means no. Learner বলবো না. In case of group discussion, we cannot say, we should not say learner, but participants or member. L for leader, discussion leader. Participants, okay? So one way, two way? Two way, definitely. Both way. This is a sketch of group discussion. Okay? Everybody must participate. Everybody will have the opportunity or equal chance to participate. Person involved, discussion leader. Here one or two recorders will be there. Everything will be recorded, okay? Group members or participants. Usually, small group discussion, 6 to 12. Or, you see, in classroom situations, you can allow up to 2. Because you see, if the number is 20, then all will be able to participate. Leader will throw the question. To whom? To all the participants. No, all the participants. If I throw the question to you, any 8 of your 9 of you can answer the question. Okay? Or
discussion. There's some ground rules. It's a play, game. In each game there is rules. It's football. How many players? 11. Then also for example, in group discussion, 11 players will be there. Okay. Referee will be there. One referee, two linesmen. The linesman is the recorder. One referee will be there, the leader. Okay. There are some rules, ground rules. Before starting the game, we have to tell about the ground rules. First ground rule is this: everybody must participate. One at a time. Nobody should feel shy. Everyone must participate, but surrounding the topic. Nobody should go out of the track. This is the ground rule. Automatically, we are doing so one question that will answer. If you will participate, then we will do it like that. Problem solving approach. Problem solving method. So this is all about group discussion. How to start the discussion? Setting is important. Whenever we will do everybody, we start the discussion. Go the question. Role of leader, that is very important. And this is the stage of the group discussion. Now, red on the leader. Red is the leader, yellow and violet. This is the recorder and the member. This is very important. Among the group members, some group members are interested only seek information. They do not give any information. Only asking. Some will be there, they will be there. They will give information. Some will be there, describing the area. No. Say for example, if you say this, you take solve this one, then problem will be solved. No, sir. It will not be solved. There are some problems. Always discussing the area. Then supporting the area. Some person will be there, always doing the exercise. Without telling anything, then we can say that is yes man. Summarizing the area. Some person will be there, always trying to summarize. Okay? And last, taking the area to do. Sir, what you are telling? But this is not possible. It is not practical. Okay? Advantage, members get opportunity to know each other. That is important for exam check. Disadvantage, মাইক্রোফোনটা দাও তো হচ্ছে না আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে ওকে হচ্ছে আচ্ছা successfulness of group discussions upon the skill of the discussion leader. If the leader is not skillful, group discussions will not be successful. Okay? Have you participated in the group discussion? Definitely. করেছো তো ক্লাসে? In these sessions, it went or something else. Okay, but the most important thing, the leader must be skillful. He must steer. Know the steering. Leader should not control the group. Say for example, suppose you are asking a question. If I say chup, you will not never ask any question to me. Is it so? So I will not tell like this. Suppose he is not participating, I will not say, can you participate korcho na? You must say no. I will steer at you. Automatically he will think, I am not participating, I will participate. So the leader will steer the group. Steering goal hai na? Steer karega, not control. Demonstrations. Okay, everything you know perhaps. Only 2 words I will tell. Demonstration is educational method where both things will be there. Theoretical teaching and practical skill. Okay. How to do demonstrations? First, explain. How to do? Then show. Okay. Second step. Explain. Do the demonstration. Then ask one person to come please and do the same things what I do, what I did, and next everybody will come here and practice. This is the 4 steps. Okay? Explain, do the demonstrations, ask one person to repeat, then give everyone a chance. Okay? Role playing is a psychodrama. In case of drama, no emotional bonding, but in case of role play, emotional bonding will be there to change the attitude. Not professional player will be required. Okay. Only you people can act as a role player. And in case of drama, no question of debriefing. That is very important. Debriefing means nothing but what I should say. In case of two-way combination, asking things, questions. Debriefing must be there. In case of drama, there will be no debriefing. Other three methods, just name seminar. Perhaps you know the name of the seminar. Workshops, then batches. Okay. If you have any questions, 1 or 2 minutes you can ask me. Otherwise, finish. Hey, attendance niye now. We will know attendance niye now. Any question for clarification? So these are the methods of health education. So only 1 hour allocated to me for discussing all these methods. So we finish. Kono questions? Any questions? Lecture, what I told you, lecture, symposium, panel discussions, colloquy, group discussion, demonstrations. Okay, 1 or 2 at least methods will come in your final exam. With along with advantage disadvantage, 5 marks or 10 marks. Okay.